According to Cody Stavenhagen, Tigers have hired Rob Metzler as assistant GM and VP. Metzler was previously the senior director of amateur scouting for, you call it, the Tampa Rays. And Tampa, they, I was reading about this a little bit, and it sounds like he was in charge of their draft.
Oh.
Yep. That is an organization that has done a great job in terms of fewer resources, but identifying talent. And he'll have more resources here. You know, I mean, he's the assistant GM. I don't know how the power structure is going to shake down, but.
Oh, is that what they're calling me, assistant GM?
Yes.
So, does it mean they're going to hire a GM?
I don't know what that means. If it's going to be essentially Scott Harris. He's assistant GM and vice president.
Yeah,
Harris,
you know what?
Harris hasn't been given the GM title, right? He's still the
director. He's the regular baseball operation.
operations.
Yeah, whatever it is. But I've always taken this, when they hired Harris, I always took it to mean that he is basically what Dave Dombrowski was. That's what he is. Yeah. He's the guy who makes all the decisions. I'm gonna head up the draft. I'm making the draft picks. I'm making the trades. I'm making the deals when it comes to free agency. And if he's going to hire a quote-unquote general manager, that's somebody who works underneath him and doesn't have that same power like you would typically think when you hear a general manager. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's just the way that I interpret it. Now that this guy's been hired on as the assistant GM and vice president, I feel like it's just a matter of time before we see that the label of general manager actually goes to Scott Harris.
I do love dipping into the Tampa Bay Rays brain trust and plucking someone out of there. You know, if you look at organizations, you know, we talked about, honestly, the formula we always have is when somebody's, who's the guy that sits next to the guy? I mean, if you can get the guy, great. But Troy Weaver was the guy that sat next to the guy. Brad Holmes was the guy who sat next to the guy. And it sounds like out of Tampa, they got the guy that sits next to the guy. Now, it doesn't always work.
Nope.
It doesn't always work. But you try and take guys from organizations that have done a great job at talent procurement.
I've always thought that one of the most underrated things in baseball, when you're putting together an organization, is to spend money on the scouts. Mm-hmm. And because you don't hear about how much money a scout makes. You never know, right? But I always thought that's the money best spent. You find the guy that identifies the guy, and you got to lure him away from those big teams. Hey, Dodgers have always done well. Who's the Dodgers' top scout? What does he make? Well, he makes $500,000 a year. Offer him $750,000, whatever it is. Sweeten the deal. Get the better guys here, and just completely revamp what you've got. And it sounds like this is the path they're going to. You know, I don't know how many guys are going to be left over that were in the front office from last year, but I give this guy carte blanche to do what he wants to do. And so far, he's made some pretty big changes. When you know, was it Scott Police they let go and David Chad that they've let go? But those are two big names in the organization. When word came out yesterday that they've reassigned the trainer to Lakeland for other operations down there, and then all the other members of the medical staff have basically been let go. Okay, starting all new. Bringing in new guys and get a new vibe in here. We've talked a lot about how Dan Campbell's tried to change the culture with the Lions, how Sheila Ford Hamp is trying to change the culture of the Lions, bringing different people together. And it all sounds great in theory, but it's actually got to work. And with the Lions, it's still a work in progress, and people are questioning that this is even happening with the change in culture. But with the Tigers, it seems like this is a change that has to happen. It's an easier change to make happen because in baseball, you were either with the game with analytics or you weren't. And the Tigers are always playing catch-up. Now they've got a guy who knows what he's doing when it comes to that and other things. And I'm encouraged by what the hirings are.
I'm intrigued. I love getting somebody from the Rays organization.
That's credibility.